Are we recording? I think so. I'm not sure. Yes, we are. All right. Usually I have a little sign that says record, but it's not there today.
Oh, I see it. I see it on my side.
Okay, good. So today we have the wonderful and beautiful Gabrielle. I'm going to let you say your last name because
Garofalo.
I totally did not ask. That is on me.
It's okay. It's all good.
And Miss Gabrielle has one hell of a resume. And she sent it to me, and she does all sorts of stuff. You even have like a blog.
I do.
Like a food and drink blog.
I do, called A Lady Walks Into a Bar.
That's amazing. That's an amazing name.
Thank you. Please follow me on Insta and Facebook.
And we'll definitely put all of those details down below.
All right.
So would you like to introduce yourself and what you do?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. And Brooke, thanks for having me. I'm super psyched to just be part of this wonderful opportunity. So I'm super visual, so I'm going to flip to a screen share and take us through. Look, there I am. Yeah, so that's me. And here's a small little exciting tidbit about that photo. I am illegally using it at the moment because I was just shot by the incredible photographer Allison Michael Orenstein, who I credit with that she told me not to use it, so I'm sorry, Allison, but I confess I'm using it anyway. Because one thing to know about me is I'm a bit of a nonconformist. So anyway, super psyched to be here. Here's a tiny bit about me. You just shared a little bit that I have a food and drink blog called A Lady Walks Into a Bar, which was formed out of an entrepreneurial venture that I had several years ago when I owned a food and drink festival called Harvest on the Harbor in Portland. Oh. My background is in advertising and branding and media. I worked for Newsweek and House and Garden, and then I became an entrepreneur and started my marketing consultancy. And I think I originally called it my seventh, but I wasn't counting my early career in the food service business as a wait person and at a law firm I used to work for. But coaching is my 10th career. So now I'm also a life coach for women, mission to activate women globally to find or channel their passions into purpose at home, in career, and in the mirror. So, and then I do these other things, like I'm a mom and a wife and a daughter and a triathlete, sprinter. I do short versions of triathlons. And I, am a crazy passionate feminist, and this is where to find me.
You're like the Renaissance woman. You're so well-rounded.
Oh, thanks.
I love it.
So nice. Yeah, and I think the key, anyway, like this is not like an advice column, but I'm just going to do it anyway, is for anybody that this is for, and for you and for women in particular, really, I think, people say, wow, your 10th career. And like, there's no shame in that, because for me, it's been about trying to figure out my passion. So follow your passion, people. That's all I got to say about that.
There you go. You should never quit. There's never a time when you should be like, I'm done for.
Yeah. And let's move on to this shizzle, right?
Yes. So she built this wonderful graph for us today, which I know is totally outside the norms of our normal interviews. So this ought to be nice.
So I was thinking when Brooke said, would you like to speak with me about one of these topics? And I was like, yes, I would. And then I started to think about it. And I kept going in a circle. Literally, like my brain was going like, well, which one was it going to be? Like, there's the perfectionist, right there. It was right there. Oh, well, I don't know. Well, if I do that one, then maybe there's that one. And I'm a Libra, so I'm always balancing and weighing considerations. But the thing that struck me as a mom, as someone, I ran the global branded content team for the Wall Street Journal for 3 years as a bit of a hiccup in my entrepreneurship. In 2012 to 2015. And during that time, I ran a really big global team, and I was really like stuck in both imposter syndrome. Like, I can't believe they hired me to do this job. What were they thinking? And I better do it right and have it perfect. Otherwise, they're going to figure out that I am actually a total imposter.
Yes.
So, but in that, in the struggle bus of those two, you're dealing with fear of failure, which is why you're trying to be so perfect. You're criticizing yourself because who's perfect? That's absurd. And you're ultimately keeping yourself from success, which, I don't really have a fear of success. I didn't think until I kept realizing that I was failing at stuff, right? And then you have to get real with yourself about what is that about? Because yes, there is inherent failure in entrepreneurship, but I think that all of us have a little bit of a fear. I'm going to sort of equate fear of success with like living, I'll Oprahify it. Wait, there she is. There we are. There's Oprah.
Oh, wow.
In my previous life, or the life I'm sort of moving out of in marketing consulting. But that was the year actually that inspired me as a life coach.
Oh, really?
And then I ignored my instincts for 7 more years, actually playing in these circles of entrepreneurship. And so I really decided that they were all connected, and I think they play off of each other. And I'm going to give just a couple of examples, I think.
Yeah, that'd be great.
At first, I want to talk just like about being a woman and a mom, because I think, I think we forget that in our roles and in our relationships, this goes on.
Yes.
Right? Like this is going on in our relationships. And I used to have a mom, one of my best friends' mom always used to say to me, like, I'm a singer, but there was a time I wanted to be a professional singer. And she would be like, girl, you fake it till you make it. You act like Mariah Carey. You own the stage. Like, she would really be like, you embody that persona. And I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to, I was so caught up in my inner critic and imposter syndrome and massive fear of failure, but also worse, fear of success. Like, what if I really had my dream come true? Mm-hmm. And that was such a mess of a tack to take, both as, I gave up singing as a result of not figuring that out. And also like outside influences telling me like, you can't really do that. You need a real career. Parents, right? Parents. Industry, like there are no redheads that are like you should dye your hair brown or blonde. Like there was just a lot going on around that. And I didn't have that centerpiece called thought work mastered. Mastered, that's sort of a joke, but I didn't have an awareness even that there was thought work involved to talk myself out of all of the mind crack that goes on up there. So I would say as a young person and as trying to find my career, we can get really screwed up, stuck in these concepts, right? Separate or together, right? Some people not experience it the way that I do, which is that they're all connected and that they play off of each other. And sometimes some are stronger than others, depending on the venture, right? Or the experience, like motherhood. Yeah. That's why, the higher power, God, whatever your beliefs are, has you bake that in there if you're biologically able to do that for 10 months. Or there are such long processes with surrogates and adoption. Like, I think the world is structuring you to like get ready. And then like you're handed this small human being. And if you've never had imposter syndrome before, that's when it really kicks in for you. Right? Even biologic. Like a human being came out of my body. They gave me the human being and I was like, you got the wrong dude. Like, I definitely don't know what to do with that at all. But your body does, right? And talk about fear of failure, perfectionism, inner critic. Like, our entire society with women generally is built on making sure that you work toward perfection, that you are filled with insecurities about everything from your looks to your weight to how you move to what you wear to how you smell to what your hair is. That's just built into being a woman. You might recall the feminist part of the slide before, right? So that's all built in. But the thing that is in the center of all of this, and that's never been more powerful for me, is the thought work. Because every time, and the other thing in common about 1, 2, 3, 4, all 5 of these is that they are stoppers, right? Like they're like wedges in progress. They are halts in innovation. They are actually built into I'm obsessed with Brene Brown and her latest, Netflix Call to Courage special really talks about how corporate culture sometimes is sort of built on all of these things, not quite this exact structure, but, you know, a lot of fear of failure and a lot of like, you know, do it this way and oppression.
God, yes.
I used to be like that. I hate to say, as like a global senior person at the Wall Street Journal, like I was such a micromanager because I was so afraid of something going wrong. I mean, eventually I learned and I empowered my people and I sent people around the world to go do their jobs. But, you know, it was a really painful process for them and for me trying to uphold some ridiculous idea of how it's supposed to be. You know, and I think America, you know, American society and our culture, especially today where everything is so public and on social media, and like everybody looks at Gary Vaynerchuk or Tony Robbins or, I mean, you know, I don't know, Aaron Judge of the Yankees or J-Lo and A-Rod, whom I'm obsessed with, by the way. You know, like I love them, but like you look at these people and you're not so much understanding the process by which this affects everybody. The difference between them and everybody else is they have mastered the thoughts.
Yes.
And mastering it is not like they disappear, because they don't. I mean, I had it all day. I mean, I changed this chart like 5 times, obviously dealing with some, you know, something in there.
Yes.
You know, but what I realized, like it was almost immediate, was I can't talk about one without the other. So I think as a mom, as a woman, and most certainly as an entrepreneur, you know, I have had, you know, my marketing consultancy, a food and drink festival, a laundromat that I invested in and then never even, like I put money into it and never bought it and like lost the whole investment, right? I started this food and drink blog actually as a business purpose behind the food festival, which I then sold. I built a whole brand, had a toxic business partnership. Talk about like, I was like, I am not going back out of that, right? I'm like, I will not fail. I rebuilt that brand. This is my brand. Wait, hold on. I like how it's like show and tell in my office, but this was my food festival. And I created this whole logo and the whole color palette and all those illustrations with my creative director. And I was like, I really was proud of it. But ultimately, you know, it wasn't serving me. So you know, it came back to the thought work. Like, it's not a failure to walk away from something that doesn't serve you. And it's not a failure to like, I mean, I hear this from, you know, people who've gone to, I have a really, really, very, very good, hugely successful friend of mine who is a very senior executive at the NBA, at the National Basketball Association. And he went to medical school. He made his parents send him to medical school, and then he dropped out and took like a 0-paying job for the NBA in New York. They were like, what? You know, he was like, yeah, sorry. Like, you know, and ultimately it's paid off. But I think like, he went through this whole idea of thought work around his, and think about that. Like, that's a big departure. But I do hear that a lot from medical students or people who've spent their whole life in business and then they become a gym teacher or whatever. So I think, sorry, I sort of like got off the choo-choo, but I think these things come into play, and more times than not, we will get stuck in them.
Yes.
And we will circle around 1 or 2 of them and stay stuck, because ultimately I think we are inclined to play small than be exposed.
Exactly. Being exposed is dangerous in our heads.
Well, yeah. And I think like society has made it sort of scary, you know, like, I mean, I used to really care what people think. I underline the word used to with like bold Sharpie. Used to.
Many colors, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, I'm 51 years old, and it took me until a very short time ago, and I still get caught up a little bit in like not wanting to be judged for my kids, or not wanting to be judged for my husband, or whatever, or, you know, not wanting to disappoint my parents, like, you know, all of these things. But again, by the way, all of that relational stuff fits right into this chart.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I think, like, again, that's the thing about relationships, right? Like a couple of my favorite people are always like, well, first of all, when you pointing over at you, where's that thumb pointing back?
Yeah.
Right. And the other thing is like, you can't change anybody else.
Correct.
Right. And all of this perfectionism, inner critic, fear of success, imposter syndrome, fear of failure is really outside influence in when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are we really born and we start questioning our own amazingness? No, because we learn how to crawl and roll over and do things inherently as human beings without anybody, right? Like someone could literally look at us and say, you can't roll over, and we're eventually going to figure that out because biomechanically we're meant to move that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that all of these are learned things.
Yes.
And the thought work is the unlearning of them,
exactly.
or the acknowledging when they show up. Mm-hmm. And deciding who's going to be more powerful, right? The forward movement or the same old story.
Yeah. I usually call that who's driving the bus.
Who's
going to drive the bus?
Yeah.
I find that a lot of times we allow ourselves to let certain emotions or thoughts take over that, and we lose control. And part of it is learning how to go back into the driver's seat. Because there is an executive view.
Absolutely.
Who stands outside all of these.
Yeah. I'm stopping the share for a second because I just wanted to come back to screen. But the one other thing I wanted to talk about before I can see, like, I'm watching the time, so I want to wrap it up. But the fear word, I don't know if you've heard this before, but I'm a fan of the acronym false evidence appearing real. Yeah.
Yes.
So, really, if you take away the fear in that, it's failure and success, right? Which are two parts of the same coin.
Exactly.
And the other thing I love that Brene Brown says, and I will leave us on this note, is that, you cannot innovate and you cannot lead without vulnerability. And you cannot be vulnerable without knowing you're going to mess it up.
Exactly.
It's just like, what is it? The phrase, it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get up.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's a wrap. Don't you just love her? Oh my goodness. This is why we did it this way, because I just knew she was going to shine all on her own.
So beautiful, Brooke. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
And I will be putting all of her details, like I said, down below, so you can stalk her as much as you want.
Please do.
In a respectful way.
Yes,
probably put that in a respectful way.
Absolutely. Or I just block y'all.
Exactly. And we will talk to you later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Let's see here. Do you want to...